now. Go ahead, Tyler.
Just following up on an inflation question. I understand you walked through what Secretary Yellen was talking about, but she still said that she was wrong then about the path inflation would take. President Biden made similar statements saying that inflation would be temporary. Brian Deese was here yesterday. I asked him the same question. Does anyone in the White House have regrets about how they talked about inflation, given that it has turned out to do exactly what they said it would not do?
I mean, look, I laid out from if you look at the whole transcript, what it is that Secretary Yellen was trying to lay out when she was asked that question. She was pointing out that there have been shocks in the economy that have, again, exacerbated inflationary pressures, which could not have been foreseen 18 months ago. I mean, that is just a reality that we're working with.
And what all of his top aides said turned out not to be true and turned out not to happen. So I'm wondering if there's any sense within the White House that that was a mistake to say so, given that it turned out to occur very differently.
Again, there were certain shocks to the economy that exacerbated the inflation pressures, right? So that includes Russia's decision to invade Ukraine, multiple successive variants of COVID, as I've mentioned already, and the lockdowns in China. The president has consistently noted that the primary drivers of inflation are the pandemic and Putin's invasion of Ukraine. The twists and turns, again, as I've talked about, have been monumental events. And so, as the Secretary Yellen has also noted, there has been historic growth and record economic creation, and our goal is to do the transition, which is what Brian Deese was talking about, to make sure that it is steady and stable growth as inflation is brought down. So that there are things that have occurred that has been unprecedented in this past year or two, actually 3 years, and that's what we're speaking to.
I hear you on that, but that still doesn't necessarily answer the question about whether inside the White House there is a feeling that there should be a concession like Janet Yellen made yesterday on TV, that the way that the administration talked about inflation was not best suited to describe to the American people the economic pain that they would eventually be feeling as we continue to see prices rise.
I mean, look, the president is working, has said this over and over again. We have said this. We understand what the American people are going through. We understand the high cost that they're dealing with. We understand what inflation is doing to gas and to food prices. We have taken multiple actions, which the president explains himself in his own voice in the Wall Street Journal just a day ago. And so that has been our focus as well. And we're coming out of a very strong economic period, and so now we're going into a transition. There are things, as it relates to inflation, there are things that were not predictable 18 months ago, that were not predictable from day one. So as we were speaking to them as we saw it at the time. And so that is also important to note. I mean, I know you're asking me that the question of, did we speak about it wrong, or did we, say, did we, I don't know, misspeak or not have it right at the time? I mean, this is what I'm trying to lay out, is that there are things that happened, the COVID variants, Russia's war in Ukraine, that was not predicted at the time. And so what we're trying to do, what the president is trying to do, is do everything that he can to make sure that we deal and attack and fight inflation. So that is our focus at the time.
Just one last one. Yeah. I understand that you guys did not. I understand that you did not predict that, but there were many economists, Larry Summers among others, who were very clear in warning about the risks of inflation.
Okay, so if we have learned anything the past 2 years, it's that our globalized economy is tied to the world around us, right? That's the number one. Again, the variants of COVID, lockdowns and slowdowns in foreign countries due to the pandemic, Putin's unprovoked invasion, Ukraine, each of these events impact prices here at home and abroad. It impacts the cost of food here at home, the supply of food abroad, the cost of gas here at home, and supply of oil around the world. Inflation is also a global issue. Inflation in Europe increased a record 8.1% in May compared to last year. So that is how we're looking at this, and this is also a global challenge.